Good afternoon. Welcome to the final presentation of today's innovation stage. You know, one of the things that ESOP companies are well known for is providing two things. Great retirement option for employee owners, but also financial information that helps them understand the business and how the business works. There's actually research that shows that when employee owners get that information, it helps them plan their own retirements, manage their own financial situation better. One of the things we're going to learn right now is how to create a world-class experience to help your employee owners do just that, to plan their financial futures. We're going to hear from Jerry Ripperger coming up next on the innovation stage.
Good afternoon. I'm surprised no one's holding a beer. It's right there. Oh, there we go. Winner, winner. On behalf of the Principal ESOP team, thank you for being here today. We're going to talk about some topics today about how do you get a return on your ESOP, because you've put the plan in place. Whether that's for succession, diversification, to provide a retirement benefit, you have your plan in place. The hard work's done, right? You get to relax. I'm hearing some people laugh out there. The hard part's just starting, right? For many of your companies, this may be one of your biggest operating expenses. Any of you ever had a problem with maybe your employees appreciating the plan, understanding the plan? We're going to talk today about how we create an experience to help drive greater appreciation, understanding, and utilization of the plan. Okay. Can we go to the slides? Oops. So most of you probably know us as the #1 provider of ESOP record-keeping services in the nation. We serve 40 of the 100 largest majority-owned ESOP companies, 850,000 participants, manage about $30 billion in employer securities. This is not a sideline business for Principal. This is one of our major focuses in retirement. How do we help you do that? Dedicated one-on-one consultants, online reporting, secure data management, strategic planning, sustainability, customized communications, electronic solutions, e-distribution, e-diversification, repurchase liability software. But Principal is a whole lot more than just that. While we're very, very proud of our #1 position in ESOP, we're also #1 in the number of defined benefit plans and the number of non-qualified deferred compensation plans, and we're #3 in terms of defined contribution. We have a major footprint in all aspects of retirement, and that's going to tie to our conversation today because we've taken what we've learned in all of these different product silos, brought them together to create a unified experience for your participants. So why should you consider integrating these together? Single secure digital experience. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Holistic approach, consolidated reporting, coordinated service team, single source for data management. We want to make your life easier, and we want to enhance the appreciation and usability of your plan by the plan participants. Before we jump into capabilities, I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking about security. Because frankly, in the absence of keeping your plan information, your participant information secure, it doesn't matter what the capabilities are. So let's look a little bit at some of the security issues that we're going to talk about here today. Sorry, they have new slides, so I'm trying to keep up with the new text. As plan sponsor, you have a fiduciary responsibility to keep information secure on behalf of your participants. You look to your service providers, your record keepers, your administrators to help you with that process. So what we want to do is talk a little bit about the Principal approach and show you why we think we're different and how leveraging the power of a Fortune 200 company helps you fulfill your fiduciary responsibilities. So let's look at what some of these key protections are, and then we're going to go in more detail on several of these along the way. We have protections both on the front end and the back end of the process. On the front end, we're going to talk about knowledge-based registration. We're going to talk about how we validate people's identity. We're going to talk about how we use behavioral biometrics, how we use multi-factor authentication, and then we're going to talk about in our call centers, how I can tell you if that phone call is coming from Hungary, Tampa, Chicago, North Korea, using our voice printing technology that we have. On the back end, we're going to talk about how we flag questionable transactions, how we validate, and how we control transactions to protect both you and your participants. So I'll start with a question. What are the 2 top ways that fraudsters attempt to access retirement accounts? Any ideas? Number 1, they go out and create a registration like they're you. They steal your identity. Secondarily, oops. Can you go back a slide? There we go. Authentication. They somehow get your information and then authenticate as you. So let me tell you a story about a real life situation that happened 4 or 5 months ago. Someone called into our call center claiming to be an 84-year-old woman who had just moved from Texas to Spain. Any warning signs yet? She wanted to have her pension benefit set in a lump sum to a bank in Spain. Any concerns yet? Oh, by the way, she hadn't registered her account online, so she had no online account registration. We had no idea of verifying who she was. So our call center tagged the call. We knew it came from Spain because of the voice printing technology. We also knew there was no way the person on the phone was an 84-year-old woman. The technology told us it was a substantially younger person on the phone. So what we promptly did was suspended her pension benefit. We locked her account so we could verify her identity. Well, how do you verify the identity of someone in Spain? We reached out to the embassy, the US Embassy in Spain, and worked with them to verify her identity. And lo and behold, guess what? It was an 84-year-old woman that moved from Texas to Spain. And she sent a letter to our senior executives thanking us for protecting her account. Because, by the way, it wasn't her on the phone. It was her niece. Her niece had called in on her behalf. And this is just one example of this technology and how we use it to protect your plan and protect your participants. Next, we're going to use behavioral biometrics to help prevent fraudulent account registration. This may shock you, but people who are trying to falsely register accounts don't type them in one at a time. They use automated programs to do that. Our system can pick up whether or not someone is actually typing that in by hand or whether or not it's being done automated in an attempt to try to break into the system. It identifies the difference between humans and non-humans in real time. And one of the biggest things we look at is keystrokes and how the keystrokes are being done. Next, we have two-factor authentication for online account access, and this can work in a couple of different ways. One, we actively encourage everyone to use multi-factor authentication for every transaction and for every login. We don't require it at this point in time if all you want to do is get in and view your information. If you want to make a distribution, if you want to move money, multi-factor authentication is required. What's that mean? Well, when you register online, you register your cell phone and your address. We send an authentication code to your cell phone. So if someone has stolen your identity and doesn't have your cell phone, they have no way to get that secondary code to actually process that transaction. Increasingly, we encourage people to set it to multi-factor authentication for all transactions, anytime they log on to the system. In addition to this, we have what's called adaptive authentication. This is over and above multi-factor authentication. So if we think there are things and we have a scoring system that increases the risk, we'll lock the account. We'll fingerprint the device. That's interesting. You've never, ever called in on this laptop before or logged in on this laptop. We'll require adaptive authentication there. Oh, and by the way, you were in Las Vegas at 3 o'clock today, and someone just tried to log in from Bosnia at 5 o'clock. Can you get from here to there in 2 hours? We geolocate. And if the geolocator says there's no way you could have made that in that period of time, we'll lock that account. So we take this very, very seriously. We also take our call center equally seriously. ESOP participants have access to our call centers, and we have the same focus on security in the call centers that we have on our online access. Our newest technology provides the latest in acoustical analysis. Believe it or not, you can tell by the quality of the call pretty much exactly where they're calling from. We can tell if you're calling from North Korea or Russia or the Ukraine. You think we have a lot of participants in those countries? Think we have a lot of people calling from those countries to try to steal people's identities and their account balances? So we look at the expected acoustics, and by the way, even if you try to mirror a different number, we can look through the mirrored number and figure out where you're actually calling from. So we can get around ID spoofing, and when we identify that, we escalate that call to the point that we may even lock the account until we can verify in another way that this is actually the person that they claim to be. But it's not just us. We all have to work together on this. We'll do our part. We do our part in terms of our people, our processes, our technology to help protect your plan information and your participants. But what do we ask you to do? Please, please, please encourage your participants to log on and create an account registration. We can produce a report for you showing who has created an account and who is regularly logging in to that account so that you can monitor that. Number one way to make sure we're secure is for them to actually log in. Provide participant email addresses. Very important for that adaptive authentication, that we know how to get a hold of them. Understand the guarantee, and a little bit I'm going to talk about the fact we actually put our money where our mouth is. If we follow these steps, we actually guarantee your participants' accounts should there be a cyber event. And finally, leverage that two-factor authentication security report. It's out there, we make it available. Actively work to get your participants to log in and help secure their information. Finally, for participants, set up and protect your online account. Takes a few minutes. Second, understand the requirements of that protection guarantee. So what does that guarantee look like? Because not only are we committed to protecting your information, we're going to put it in writing, and we're going to guarantee it financially. We're confident that our systems, phone lines, physical files are very secure. We offer a customer protection guarantee to give the participants that extra level of security and comfort. The guarantee covers their ESOP accounts in an employer-sponsored plan. If you have multiple plans with us, for example, a DB plan, NQ plan, DC plan, the guarantee also applies to those plans. We'll reimburse a participant account if there's unauthorized activity and they've taken the simple steps I outlined on the previous slide to protect their account. To be eligible, you have to activate two-factor authentication, and they have to provide their mobile phone number. They have to manage their subscription, so their delivery preferences, where do they want to get things mailed to, et cetera, and keeping their contact information up to date. Very, very simple approach, but it's a guarantee. And it's not, don't take just our word for it. We have a SOC 2 report, a systems and organization control report that we get from Ernst & Young, our auditor, on an annual basis that evaluates and reviews our security procedures on an ongoing basis. This covers security, confidentiality, and availability principles so you can feel comfortable that we have processes in place to keep your data safe. The report can help you demonstrate you're taking the actions required as a fiduciary to manage your plan properly. And if you can find this out on the website, simply go on the Sponsor Service Center, log in as an employer, click on the Reports tab. In the Special Security section on the right side, click on the SOC 2 report, and you can actually download the report. And your auditor would probably appreciate having a copy of that. So before we move on, I'm going to pause here and ask, any questions on the security portion of this? Because we're going to start talking about the fun stuff next. The capabilities. But the capabilities don't matter unless the data is secure. This is foundational. So let's move on to capabilities. So where do we differentiate our platform? What are some of the things that we do? Tailored communication. We're going to spend a little time talking about how we build that communication plan specifically around your plan, your goals, your objectives. Behaviors and outcomes. How do we actually influence participants, particularly when they have multiple retirement accounts with us? And finally, education. How do we provide multi-level education, some of which has nothing to do with their retirement plans? Believe it or not, participants don't exist only for the retirement plan. They have budgets, they have student loans, they have mortgages, they have a whole host of other things that we're going to touch on. But let's start with communication. And by the way, Kelly, wave. Kelly's on our custom communication team. I would encourage you, if you have questions on this afterwards, stop at booth 336, ask to speak to Kelly, and she can go in way more detail than I can. And by the way, she'll correct me when I'm done here, of all the things I should have said differently. An ESOP is not just a financial transaction. It may seem like it, particularly when you're putting a new plan in place, because there are so many moving parts to create the plan, finance it, structure it, execute on that. But it's not just a financial transaction. It's a cultural transaction. It's a cultural transformation of the organization. How do we reinforce that to participants? How do we get them to understand the alignment between their actions, company performance, stock price, and their retirement plan balance? That's where communication comes into play. We got a specialized team that understands no company or strategy is the same. There's 6,930 ESOPs in the country. You want to guess how many different ways they look? 6,930. That's one of the greatest strengths of ESOPs. We build every one of them around that selling owner, that company, and that participant base, which also means we have to build that communication strategy around each one, because they're doing things for a different reason. We're going to start by understanding your goals and objectives, and then structuring a communication program to meet your needs. But let's be honest, that's not first. I'm going to hit 32 years at Principal here in a few months. I've been in virtually all the employee benefits areas, health, ancillary lines, retirement, ESOP. And I can tell you there's this universality of what makes a plan successful. Good plan design. If you don't have good plan design, you can't educate that away. You can't create web tools to make it look. Everything starts with plan design. We've got the largest consulting team in the country. Many of them will be over at booth 336. I would encourage you to spend some time talking to them to help you design a plan to be successful. Because when you're creating a new ESOP in particular, you're simultaneously doing two things. One, you're creating a succession plan. And second, you're creating a retirement plan. Which one do you think takes precedence typically? The succession plan, correct? And for those of you who are in an ESOP that's a little more mature, as you start paying off that bank loan, what starts happening to that share price? It starts changing pretty exponentially, right? It's really important that we not only design this properly, that we review this on a regular basis to make sure we're continuing to hit your goals and objectives. I can't tell you the number of times we talked to a plan sponsor who's said, well, I'm putting 15, 20% of payroll into a retirement plan every year. You want to guess what percentage of people who offer only a 401k plan put 15 to 20% of payroll in that plan? It's low single digits. Is that really what you want? That's why we have to constantly review that, and our team of experts can help you with that process. Every inch and every click matters. We don't think of our financial life generally in little slices. We may buy products that way. You may have your ESOP here, your 401k, your bank account, your mortgage in slices. But when you think holistically, you think about how all of those interact together, right? So we've created an interactive website that combines all of the retirement accounts that are with Principal in one easy-to-use dashboard to help you understand the health of your retirement and where you're at in that process. We've made it pretty simple. You can see here under this personalized score, red, yellow, or green. You want to guess what color you want to be? What we do is look at your age, your contribution, your account balances, and say, based on where you're at today, based on what we expect future growth to be, where are you going to be from a replacement ratio standpoint at retirement? And then we'll help them make changes so that they can improve that score. So for example, if you had your 401k with us in addition to the ESOP, simple little sliding bar, you can increase your deferral percentage. Very, very simple. There's all kinds of tools and capabilities that we have available there. But we also recognize that not all of your retirement accounts are going to be with Principal. So you have the ability to bring in outside accounts. And these outside accounts can be with Fidelity. They can be with whoever, where you have an IRA, et cetera. Because we want to make sure we're factoring them into that score. Particularly if you have someone at the latter stage of their career, who this isn't their first job, they've accumulated significant assets somewhere else, and we're trying to incorporate them into that conversation. Retirement wellness score is incredibly powerful. We also can incorporate in HSA balances. So we have HSA integration with the 3 largest HSA providers in the country, Optum, Health Equity, HSA Bank. Between the 3 of them, they have 47% market share. So you have the top 3, and then you have number 4. And then they fall off very, very dramatically after that point. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the healthcare expense going forward, because for most people, what is their single biggest expense in retirement? Healthcare, health insurance, right? Healthcare. A couple that retires at age 65 and lives a normal lifespan needs how much at age 65 to cover their anticipated out-of-pocket medical expenses in retirement? $402,000. That's over and above Medicare. So it's very, very significant. So we have to spend a focus on that. And that's why we have what we call Principal Milestones. Milestones is our suite of educational tools that are out there to help you make decisions, understand your situation, and what you can do. So what are some of the things, and we'll go into more detail on a few of these. We can help you prepare a will. We can help you find and apply for scholarships. Money management education, on-demand digital meetings. And then we'll talk a little bit about flash briefings through Alexa, just because, frankly, Alexa's kind of cool. The reality is there's no shortage of educational tools on the web. If you go in and type in financial education tools, you'll probably get somewhere around several 100 million hits on the web, right? Problem isn't having information, it's doing what? Getting people to use it. And we find by integrating this in to our holistic retirement experience and providing these on-demand tools just when they need them, it starts to impact participants' outcomes. But let's talk some very specifics here. What percent of people in the United States do you think have a will? 12? A little bit light. So there's roughly 2,000 people here at this conference. If this was a purely average group, and it's not, because let's face it, we work in ESOPs, we work for ESOP-owned companies, so we're way smarter and more attractive than the average population. But let's assume we're the average population. 400 people here would have a will. 20% of people have a will. What's the number one reason people don't have a will? Well, they're all going to die. See, death is certainty. Premature death, not so much. Death, going to happen. It's expensive, right? Most people don't do it because to go get a complete will, powers of attorney, et cetera, can cost you $1,000. What if I told you your participants can do it for free on Principal.com? We've partnered with ARIG, a leading supplier of this, to create a will preparation service that we make available on our website behind the logon for our participants. You can go online, you can create your standard will. By the way, they're different in every state and the District of Columbia. We can handle all of them. You can do a standard will, healthcare power of attorney, HIPAA authorization, durable power of attorney, living will, and a medical treatment authorization for minors. On average, that would cost you about $1,000 if you went to an attorney to do that. And that's something, if you're a client of Principal, that's out there for free. I know I personally did it. My daughter was going to Europe. She had just turned 18. And I realized if something happened to her, I had absolutely no legal ability to do anything about that. It took about 20 minutes and I created that entire suite of documents for her out online. Helping participants pay for school and repay student loans. I don't know if you've been following the whole discussion at the national level. See, being in Iowa, we're either lucky or unlucky, depending on if you like politics. We have the nation's first caucus, so if you like politics, we're lucky. If you're more normal than that and dislike it, we're unlucky. But I'll tell you what, student loan, student debt is a major topic right now. It's getting an incredible amount of attention from the presidential candidates. And frankly, it's starting to impact people's ability to retire. You realize we have people that have worked their entire career, are getting ready to retire, and are still repaying student loans. So we make available on our website a series of tools through Enrich to help people understand, manage, and pay off their student loans. They have the ability to do some refinancing, to do some consolidation, to do some other things there to help manage that. Not a product offered by Principal, it's a service we offer. But for their kids that are going to school, we also have the ability to search for and apply for scholarships on that site. And we've had numerous examples already of clients who have received scholarships for their children working through that site. Once again, that's provided as part of our package at no cost to you. Education. Any of you sit through the lunch speaker today? It used to be simple. You did things one way, right? But let's think today, how many generations do we have in the workforce? Well, there's still some traditionalists there. We have baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, and Gen Z. So we had 6 generations in the workforce today. So I think about my father and my daughter, conceptually, both of which could still be in the workforce today. Good luck getting my daughter to go to your employee meeting. It's not going to happen. And you could tell my dad the secret to immense wealth and immortality was found on the World Wide Web at a certain address, and he was never going to go there and get it. But don't we want to influence both of them? So we have to have a very comprehensive and holistic approach as we look at our educational resources. So what are some of the things we offer? We do 12 webinars per year on demand. They're under 30 minutes each. We do interactive polls and chats. You can replay these at any time. You can go out and search on a variety of topics. You want to learn about HSAs? There's a whole HSA module out there. You want to learn about budgeting? There's budgeting modules out there. It's a whole suite of tools readily available at the fingertips for your participants to learn more about their financial health. I really saved some of the best for last. Anybody have a cell phone? Anybody have kids? Can your kids even talk anymore? Or do they just do everything on that little bitty screen, right? The reality is we need to meet people where they're at, interact with them how they want, to drive to their outcomes. And one of the best ways we do that is our native mobile app. And we just rolled this out about 4 months ago. This is our second generation native mobile app that we have. On that, can we go back to this? On that app, biometrics. You want to do facial scanning, you want to do fingerprint, secure logon using biometrics. It's designed behaviorally, has all your account information, the same things that you would see on principal.com on that consolidated view, you can see on that mobile app. Most of the transactional capabilities that are on the web are on the mobile app. Those that aren't, it actually redirects you back to the website and you still can do it through the mobile application. So this is a very, very exciting part, even to the point on the 401k side, if you take out a loan, you now even can scan a check-in, just like you're depositing a check in your checking account to help repay that loan. This is only going to get more robust over time as we continue to add more and more capabilities. And the last thing I want to just touch on here, because we're rapidly running out of time. Any of you have Alexa in your house? I would encourage you to go out and download the Principal skill. We are the first retirement plan provider that had an Alexa skill that provides education, financial tips, etc. It's updated every week, and that's available to anyone that wants to go out and use it. So with that, I'm going to pause, take a breath, and say, what questions do you have? Okay. Thank you. The beer truck's right over there. And I would encourage you, if you have any questions, you want to see a demonstration of some of these capabilities, stop by our booth. We'd be happy to walk you through them. Thank you.